Good afternoon, all of you. Myself, Professor Ghanshyam Rathod from EC Department, Birla Vishwakarma Mahavidyalaya. I welcome you all on this webinar on brain-computer interfacing and its applications. I welcome you all behalf of Birla Vishwakarma Mahavidyalaya and from EC Department. So, starting with the introduction of our expert speaker of today's webinar, I invite respected Dr. Bhargav Gorodia sir to give introduction of our expert of today's session. So, Bhargav sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ghanshyam. I once again welcome all the participants to this wonderful webinar. Before I introduce our expert of today's session, as we have participants all across the nation, I would like to briefly highlight about the brief detail about the institution. So, Birla Vishwakarma Mahavidyalaya was the first engineering institution, which was established in the state of Gujarat way back in 1948. It is functioning under the umbrella of Charutar Vidya Mandal, that is referred as CVM. CVM is one of the leading India's NGO and non-profitable charitable organization working in the field of education, founded to cater the education to the rural mass of Gujarat. BVM has obtained autonomous status for all its UG and PG program offered by the institute, which is the first autonomous engineering college in the state of Gujarat. We are proud that more than 21,000 engineers have been graduated from BVM, and presently BVM is offering its BTech program and MTech program, and recently we are going to start the PhD program under the Gujarat Technological University. So it is a matter of pride that institute is awarded with prestigious World Bank assisted project TQIP2, as well as presently we are under TQIP3. The BVM Institute is also recognized as one of the Student Startup Institute policy under the Government of Gujarat GTU. Majority of the programs are accredited by NBA AICT. We do have very strong alumni network which connects us across the globe. Talking brief about the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering was established in the year 2006. Major strength of the department is we have a dedicated faculty, one of the finest and best faculty base in the Gujarat. We do have meritorious students, well-equipped laboratories, and skilled support staff. Department is actively involved in grooming the students by imparting quality teaching learning process with major focus on outcome-based education and to produce industry-ready engineers. Department is also having a tie-up with various industries, and we do have Center of Excellence in the area of IoT infrastructure in association with system level solution. Coming to today's expert, we are lucky and fortunate that we have one of the versatile expert in the domain of electronics and communication, and particularly in the domain of human machine interface, right? We do have Dr. Kiran Kumar Trivedi. He is a professor at Electronics and Communication Engineering Department at VGEC Chandkheda, Ahmedabad, affiliated with Gujarat Technological University under the Commissionerate of Technical Education Department, Government of Gujarat. Dr. Kiran Trivedi has pursued his B Electronics and Communication, Masters in Communication System Engineering, and holds PhD. He is having 24 years of experience in teaching UG and PG students at the university level. Dr. Trivedi has organized various workshops on wireless and mobile technologies in India and delivered various expert talks on artificial intelligence, edge computing, and deep learning. He is involved in development of AI-enabled embedded device-based application for health and ICT. He has been invited for talks at national and international levels. He had been invited to demonstrate emergency messenger system to Honorable President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam. Dr. Kiran Trivedi has been awarded as Nokia Developer Champion for Best Contribution in the Mobile Technologies from 2007 to 2011 consecutively. He has received NVIDIA Artificial Intelligence Research Grant in the year 2018. He is also been awarded as Best Professor for broader outlook learner teacher and holds All India rank Bolt Awards. Dr. Trivedi was global winner for QVI app Wizard contest in the Nokia Global Calling Innovators contest in 2010, and he has also won Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Innovation Award at AIBS 2017 conference on biomedical science. He has published more than 35 papers in various conferences and journals. His 2 patents were published in Indian Patent Journal, and he loves to speak on intellectual property rights. Dr. Trivedi actively organizes ITU Girls in ICT Day since last 2 years and was invited to speak on India's leading FM radio station, All India Radio, to promote girls in ICT of rural area in Gujarat. His team of students have been winner in hackathons at state level. Dr. Trivedi has published science and technology related articles in leading newspaper and worked on many innovative projects. In addition to this, he has served in various government committees like TQIP, Research Coordinator, and Student Startup Innovation Policy Coordinator. Apart from this, he is an avid cyclist, riding more than 27,000 kilometers so far in total and still counting, and he loves music. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much for a very long introduction. So welcome all of you. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Bhargav Goradia and Dr. Ghanshyam Rathod for providing me this opportunity to talk on BCI among all the participants across the nation. I'm very happy to share my personal experiences with the brain-computer interfaces, because when I was doing my research, I had done rigorous research in terms of BCI. So today I'm going to present some of the portion which I have done in my PhD, as well as some of the portion which is still new. And the thing is that now the scenario has changed. When I started my PhD in 2012, at that time, there was nothing like AI in terms of much development. But now I can see that the time which I spent analyzing the brainwaves and all these things, now it has become a lot easier because of the artificial intelligence. So today I will try to integrate some of the things which can be useful, those who are interested in doing research in BCI, or maybe those faculty members who want to guide their students into BCI area. It's a very interesting field, and I will start my presentation with some of the fundamentals of EEG, and later on I will show some of the things, what are the different opportunities available in that. I would have shown you the hardware directly on the webinar right now, but most of the things have been broken out after many years of working, so that's not possible. But I would like to show you some of the screenshot of my brainwave, which has been recorded in different mental conditions and all these things. So I would like to start the presentation with a very interesting video. You will all love to see that. So how interesting it is. So first of all, I will share the screen, and then we'll start the presentation. So this was a very short video of one of the toy product which is being developed by a Japanese company regarding the checking out the mental condition of the person. Am I audible properly?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
My screen was actually paused, so that's why I asked you. So this was a kind of
Yeah, screen is paused.
yeah.
Sir, voice is clear, but the screen is still paused.
Hmm.
You can see your photo.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Visible now.
Okay. So that was a very interesting product made by a Japanese company using some of the EEG sensor, and that product actually uses a single EEG sensor. So directly jumping onto the presentation and starting my today's talk. So today I'm going to discuss some of the aspects of the those who are interested in doing research in the brain-computer interfacing, or those students who are interested in doing their projects in the brain-computer interfacing area. Today I'm going to cover some of the fundamental introduction of the BCI, some literature review, some objectives, what we need to do while doing some project or research in BCI, what are the materials and what different methods can be used, what are some of the results which I have achieved, some discussion and conclusion and some sort of publication, etc. So background of the abstract and the aim, materials and method, which is directly shown in the screen. This is one of the graphical abstract which I had prepared while in my PhD, that is actually very clearly indicative that how you can modularize your work in terms of brain-computer interfacing. So initially, when you are interested in doing some sort of brain-computer interfacing, you need to see that what are the different hardware available for recording the brainwave or capturing the brainwaves. I will come in the details of EEG fundamentals and what are different bands and everything. But before that, I would like to mention here that you must have an idea that what are the different hardware available in the market right now. So till date, there are 4 to 5 very interesting hardware available, and most of them are wireless. There are two options for starting any sort of EEG recording or maybe EEG capturing. Is that one, you have an option of going for the medical grade EEG. Medical grade EEG is nothing but a kind of hardware where usually doctors uses them. Doctors are using them for the patient's patient's mental health status and recording them, but they do not have raw data access. So that is the biggest problem with medical EEG kind of a setup, and it is very costly. If you ask any of the doctor in psychiatry department in the medical college or somewhere to the private practitioners, they will definitely tell you that it's a very costly hardware and the setup time is too much. So setup time is basically preparing the subject or maybe preparing the person or a patient for recording the brain waves. Being an engineer, usually what we do is that we are not interested in a kind of a patient, but we are interested in a healthy person's brainwave data. And that is what the main interesting aspects, that even though a person is healthy, but we try to identify number of brainwave features, and we can later on apply to some hardware or maybe a mobile application or a software running inside the PC. So one option with us is that we can use medical grade EEG devices. It's a very big setup. There are 64 different channels. So whenever some electrodes are placed on the different parts of the brain, They are basically known as channels. So from individual channel, we are getting brain waves in terms of electrical signals. Another option is that you can go for a wireless EEG headset that are a kind of a very small EEG headset, lightweight. The form factor is very interesting. Even you can wear it, and even you can do your own other work also while wearing it. But in case of medical grade EEG, it's not possible to move from the seat. You need to sit on the chair for a longer time to record the brain waves and everything. And the software even does not provide you much facility to have a raw kind of a data. There are some medical grade EEG devices available by which you can record all these data, but the raw data is a kind of a different proprietary product. So you need to spend much more money on that. So that is one option. Second is what I told you is that wireless EEG headset, and the interesting one right now in the market available, which is by the eMotive as a company. It's a Southeast Asian founder company, and right now based on US, and they are selling a very good product in terms of wireless grade EEG services. So they provide a wireless EEG headset, which you can see right now on the screen. It's nothing but an eMotive 16 channel EEG headset. It has a proprietary dongle in terms of wireless RF, which you need to connect to your computer, and live data can be seen directly on the screen. But the important thing with this product is that you need to buy a license copy for that, and it's something around $750. So that gives you all access to all the raw data and different parameters. Even you can do some sort of analysis also, and some other features are available. For students, those who are interested in doing some project in terms of BE level, there is another option which is available, that is by NeuroSky company. NeuroSky is also a US-based company. They are selling a EEG headband.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I think the screen is once again 4, sir. We can see only graphical abstract first slide only.
Yeah. I am not changing that. I still not changing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it's
So yes, you will be able to see that. Is it changing now?
yeah, it is. Okay, sir.
Okay, so actually I have not changed. I'm just talking on the first slide. So that second option is about the EEG by NeuroSky. NeuroSky is selling a product. I'm right now showing here that on the person's head there is a black belt. That belt is nothing but a single channel sensor, and the video which we see recently, that was using the same EEG sensor. It's a single channel EEG sensor. So how you can do all this, that you need to connect your scalp or maybe the sensors with the brain, the forehead or maybe the scalp. Then you will collect the data into the computer, and then you will be analyzing them. Once you analyze them, you can finally transfer it to the any of the open source hardware or whatever hardware you want to use. Then later on you can do some sort of analysis or maybe some sort of controlling activities. So whenever we are interested in doing some sort of EEG, we should have some fundamental knowledge about the human brain. As we have studied human brain in our science or maybe the high school level biology, at that time, we have seen that there are different portions in the brain, and most majority of them are very important for different activities. So there is a kind of a motor cortex and frontal lobe, then temporal lobe and occipital lobe. So these are very much important parts of the brain where different activities are being generated or controlled. So if you look at the motor cortex in the brain, it's basically responsible for the movement of the body or any of the movement what we do. There is a Broca's area which is responsible for speech, kind of a control or maybe speech related activity by the human brain. Frontal lobe is responsible for smell and some sort of physical control, as well as occipital lobe is primary for visual area. So whenever we are looking at something and what we see and what we interpret or what we perceive, that is basically actually processed in the backside of the brain. So that is basically the occipital lobe. Temporal lobe is for hearing. So different people might have different problems in terms of body, or maybe there is a brain damage kind of a thing. Then if some of the portion has been damaged, then definitely the brain waves being generated from all these areas will definitely affect the person. If you have a problem with sensory kind of a thing, if you're not able to sense anything on the skin, it means that maybe a sensory cortex might have damage, and the brain waves being generated from the sensory cortex are a bit damaged on. That is what the thing which we can feel in our bodies, kind of signals what we get. Even the brain is not able to get the signal from the body itself. Many times we feel that we have a problem or we have some sort of activity or physical activity problem. It means that the brain is sensing all this, and that is why we are not able to sense them properly. So there are different lobes in the brain, and these lobes are actually generating number of brain waves. And very small unit portion of the brain is nothing but the neuron. Neuron, what we have studied, is a single unit in the brain, and there are crores of neurons, and actively they are continuously breathing in terms of generating electrical signals, and finally most of the human activities are happening. So brain is a very complex thing. It's very difficult to understand each and every part of the brain. But being an engineer interested in BCI, we should have at least some fundamental knowledge about all these different parts of brain. And whenever you are doing some sort of activity-related project, you should focus on the area where you are interested. Say, for example, if you want to make a BCI project which is responsible or maybe doing some sort of interesting outcome on the hearing of a person, it means that you should focus on the brain waves which are being generated from the temporal lobe. Or maybe if you are interested in some sort of visual activity, then definitely the occipital lobe is very much of interest. Second part of the human brain is that EEG, that is electroencephalogram. It's a kind of area where brainwave electrical signals are being studied, and that is nothing but the electroencephalogram or electroencephalogrammetry. That is what we actually study. Similar to EEG, we have ECG and EMG and EOG, etc. So electro-oculography as well as electromyography, which is responsible for the muscular movement. Heart is for ECG. So these are all different areas in which we can do some work. And it's very interesting whenever an electronics and communication engineer or maybe IT or computer or maybe whatever studying in ICT is learning about integrating some human vital parameters with all these latest technology, then it's an integration, and that is what the next generation is looking for. And these are the areas where there is still some sort of research is going on, and people are developing new things on day-to-day basis. Recently, you might have seen that Elon Musk has actually started research in terms of, and he has come out with a product of Neuralink, a kind of a chip which can be implanted into the brain, and that is what basically it's a kind of a connectivity to all the occipital and frontal lobe with that chip. So it's very interesting area that is yet to explore a number of things. It's very complex. Even still today, that majority of the problem with brainwave research is that nobody is able to come to a conclusion for universality. That is what it means, that if you are developing a product, that should be a universal product. Universal means it should be used by everyone in a similar way. But as the brain is dependent on age, health, sex, as well as previous history of a person, it's not that much easy to make a universal device. And that is why most of the problems or most of the results which are being published by the researchers are of not acceptable in terms of majority of the universality. And that is why whenever you are doing a research, whenever you're doing a project into that, you need to definitely actually set up the boundary for your research in terms of a scope of the research, that you are working on the EEG project, which is basically targeting the healthy male and female of, say, for example, age 16 to 45. So you are actually defining the boundary for your research, and that will not make more trouble, because finally you can definitely tell others that this was the project which I did for this sort of objects, or the subject, sorry, that it was only for the healthy people. Because if a person is having some sort of mental problem or maybe a brain injury or any sort of health issue, it definitely will not give you the proper result. Another thing is that even the time of the day also is very much important, that if you are recording your brainwaves in the morning, if you are recording your brainwaves in the afternoon or maybe at late night, you will definitely get some sort of different results. So even human activity over a period of time, over a day, actually affects the brainwave condition. Even your brain gets also tired, and that is why the brainwaves are a little bit different. No doubt there are no change in the frequency, no change in the fundamental EEGs of different alpha, beta, gamma, delta, theta, but definitely there is a kind of an amplitude variation which affects the results. So EEG is a kind of an area where you need to be very much careful, that being an engineer, if you are interested in doing some sort of research or maybe making some projects, you should be very much careful that there are areas in terms of EEG, like the focus is EEG, but there is a neuroengineering area, there is a neuroscience area, there is a neurology area, there is a psychology, there is under the psychiatry, there are different areas available. So whenever we come across different research papers on the internet or maybe the standard journals or any conference proceedings, we see that there are papers which we should be able to identify, that whether it is related to neuroscience or maybe neuroengineering or where we want to go. There are some papers which has been published by mathematicians which are simply talking about the data analytics part of the brainwave signals, and they are bringing out some results based on the available mathematical algorithm. So we need to be very much careful that we need to define the focus of our work, because otherwise it will be everything mixed up and you will not be able to move forward. The second part in the human brain we need to take into consideration is basically the artifacts. Artifacts is a very popular word when we are talking about any of the EEG related activities. Artifacts are nothing but the noise signals or maybe the unwanted signals when we are recording the brain waves. Say for example, right now, if I wear my EEG headset and if I start recording my brainwave, definitely because of my head movement, because my lip movement, because of my chair movement, etc., or maybe the body movement, there are lots of chances that the EEG which is being recorded will be affected by all these physical movements, or maybe my blinking of eyes will also affect. So many a times, if you have observed that whenever a psychiatrist is actually reading the brainwaves of a patient, he will give some sort of medicine to the person, so he will sleep out, and finally they will record the brainwaves because they don't want any artifacts to be recorded while measuring the brainwave activities. And so whenever you are recording your brainwaves for engineering purpose, definitely you should take care of the artifacts, because that plays a vital role in actually changing your result. So that is one of the area which is of interest. Another is we need to look at the types of EEG signals, that what were different types of EEG signals which we have available. And finally, brainwaves effect. So there are lots of factors which are affecting the brainwaves. When I started my work in 2012, at that time I had started recording the brainwaves for different conditions. So what was the main purpose at that time? That I had focused that what are the different parameters that affect the brainwaves, and I wanted to see that how a temperature change can affect the brainwave, and I wanted to see that on which particular band the temperature of the surrounding or maybe the environment affects human. So that was a very difficult part, but I started recording the brainwaves for different conditions. Say, for example, I'm sitting in a room right now, maybe 18 degree of air conditioning is there in the room. So we definitely feel good whenever we are in the air conditioned room. So that means that there is an effect of the temperature on the brain, and that is why we feel good, because that is what the main processing unit in the body, and that is what where it is affecting. What are the different brainwave bands which are being affected, and from where we can find out that result, that there is a temperature change or which is responsible. And you can also find that how much temperature actually is responsible for changing your mood. If you go out in the sunlight area, or maybe if it is very hot outside, maybe 40 degree, 44 degree, then definitely you will feel not feel good. And that is what the another aspects where it is actually affecting. There are chances that both the low temperature as well as the high temperature is affecting on the different brainwave bands. Or maybe if you take an overall spectrum of the EEG signal, you need to analyze that whether it is affecting the overall spectrum of the brainwaves, or maybe it's only targeting to a particular band. Later on, I recorded the brainwaves for different conditions in terms of if you're traveling at 80 kilometer or 100 kilometer per hour, or maybe if you're standing or maybe sitting in a chair, whether the motion of the body actually affects the brainwave or not, or whether we feel anything into that or not, or maybe if you are not able to feel the motion of the body at 80 kilometer per hour, but whether it is affecting the brainwaves or not. So we took readings for that also. Another area where we targeted is that, say for example, I wanted to see that whether there is an effect of living on a ground. Maybe if you are living on maybe a tenement or a bungalow, which is close to the surface of the earth, and if you are living in a 20-story building, which is a little bit far from the surface of the earth, so whether is there any effect of the brainwave or not? I found a very interesting paper at that time that there is a Schumann's resonance. It's a kind of a frequency which is being continuously generated from the Earth itself. So there was a scientist who invented that there is a 3 hertz of resonance which is being continuously generated from the Earth, and that actually affects our brain waves also, because we too have a 3 hertz of brain wave which is being continuously generated from our birth till we die. So that is a kind of a tuning of the Schumann's resonance with the human brain waves. And even NASA has also accepted that whenever they sent the astronauts to the space, at that time, they had some sort of feeling into their brain that they were not feeling comfortable as good as like they are on the Earth. And that is why they found that there is a Schumann's resonance which is definitely affecting the human brain. So I wanted to see that whether the Schumann's resonance is actually reaching up to the 20th story building, or maybe it's not that much responsible to change the affect the brainwaves. So I found that there was not at all any difference if you are living on a surface of the earth or maybe you are on a 20th story building. But definitely there is a kind of a critical point where we can find out all these things. So why I started with all these different concepts, that see, there is one area where you can simply record the brainwaves, you can do analysis and find out some results. That is one thing. Another thing is that once you get the result, either you want to find out a pattern from the brainwaves, and do you want to make some sort of algorithm, or do you want to make some result which you want to deploy on the hardware like Raspberry Pi or maybe Arduino or maybe any advanced computer or maybe a kind of embedded device. So there is one area where you can find out all these results and then you can transfer to the hardware, and then definitely it becomes a device. So in my brainwave, I actually developed a communication device which is used, which was actually being operated by the brainwaves. And I was able to make some sort of side products out of the PhDs, that I was able to update the Facebook and Twitter status just by my thoughts. Even I was also able to generate some sort of password. If you give me some 4 digits of number, I will definitely generate those numbers with my brainwave. Even if I give it to anyone and train that person how you can generate all these characters, the person will also be able to generate those things. So it was a kind of a universal device for communication. Again, I did some sort of side work in terms of finding out that when a person is actually dreaming while the person is sleeping. So whether can we find at what time the person is actually having a dream. So it's not possible to record the dream. It's not possible to see what a person is dreaming all about. But important thing is, at least can we find that the person started sleeping at 10 p.m. in the night and he wakes up at 6 a.m. in the morning. So if a person says in the morning that I had a dream this night, or maybe that night today, in that night. So I wanted to find out the time when a person was having a dream. So even I found that thing. I referred some of the papers related to dream cycle or the non-REM and REM state of the brainwaves. So I found a time also. Even I was able to tweet at that time. So whenever the person is sleeping, if he sees some dream in the night, so he'll be able to tweet automatically from his brain. So that is what the thing, where one of the area where we can do some sort of research that is still yet to explore, because identifying dream is still impossible right now. So coming back to the brainwave lobes of importance, there are mainly 4 brain lobes. First is the occipital lobe, very important, very useful for visual responses. Whatever we see right now, you are able to see my slides on the Google Meet. So you are also processing the information by the visual cortex, and the visual responses are also being processed in the backside of the brain. Temporal lobe is basically used for sound, memory, and speech. So there are different areas of electronics and communication where people do work in sound as well as memory or maybe the speech. And if you want to integrate all this with those things, you should definitely focus on the temporal lobe. And then parietal lobe is for sensation, touch, response, pain in mind or physical body, pressure, body temperature, etc. So why the body temperature actually increases, that is what, just because of this lobe. Frontal lobe is also responsible for human personality and due to the cognitive responses of the person. So just to tell you that if you close your eyes, what happens when you close your eyes? Or maybe when we want to remember something, when we are tired or when we are not happy, we always try to close our eyes. There are different reasons. When you close your eye, your alpha gets higher. So alpha wave is a band in the brainwave. While just closing your eyes, actually it increases. And that is why people do meditation, people do yoga just to increase their alpha state. And that is why there is a practice in the yoga or maybe meditation that entering into alpha zone or maybe trance zone, whenever we are sleeping and we are actually entering into the sleeping pattern of the brain, we are actually in trance state. And that is what, when you have a highest number of alpha waves at that time. And alpha waves actually makes you a little bit focused and attentive for most of the things and activity, and that is why we close our eyes and try to remember something. So actually it increases your attention value and you can focus on some of the things. So all these are some of the fundamental aspects which we actually carry from the biology, and then later on we can go towards recording them and trying to find out that if I have recorded some brainwave data from a particular lobe, it means that there are something which is responsible from that side. No doubt, whenever we are recording all the brainwaves, they look similar. There is no change at all, but definitely mathematics can help into that. Until and unless you don't use mathematics or do some statistical analysis, or these days now, if you don't use AI, it becomes very difficult to find out this sort of pattern. And that is why the recent research in the brainwaves or maybe EEG area is integrating artificial intelligence. So actually, our intelligence is already there. We have our brainwaves. We try to bring out from the brain using some EEG headsets, and we transform them to the computer, and definitely from the computer we actually analyze them using AI. So AI is an area by which you can use data science and data analytics to find out the pattern from the data, and that gives you very much accuracy in terms of bringing out all the results. Recently, I had seen one of the survey or paper which was based on generating the actual image from your thoughts. So the researchers were successful in bringing out the picture of any object which a person is thinking about. Say, for example, if somebody asks me that think of a lion, so I will start thinking of a lion, maybe a imaginary kind of a picture generating in my brain. I can see some lion in my brain, or maybe just by closing of eye, I can see a lion. But the computer will immediately generate the image which has been created into my brain, and that almost similar. The person would definitely agree that this sort of lion you were thinking all about. So that is what the kind of advancements in terms of AI using brainwave data. Now, some of the very basic things about the neurons and the action potential. This is a biological neuron. If you are talking about machine learning or AI, that is a artificial neuron. That is artificial neural network, what we call is all about. So it is a kind of a simply analogy of mimicking the real biological neuron to an artificial neuron. And the similar way, they are actually treating the mathematics for the artificial neuron. So in case of neuron, a kind of a biological neuron, a very important part is the nucleus and the cell body, where different dendrites are connected and which are basically responsible for gathering the information. And there is an axon. Axon is basically a kind of a link between different neurons, which is responsible to transfer the action potential from one nucleus to another nucleus. So there is a continuous electrical activities which is being happening inside the body, which is being generated from the brain, and finally it all gets transmitted to the complete human nervous system. So this nervous system is basically responsible for doing all these activities. Right now, if I'm able to speak something, if my lips are having movement, if my hands are moving, it means that my brain is continuously sending some sort of electrical signals. It is also reading from the memory about what I'm speaking right now and trying to explain you everything. So these are all brainwave activities, because my body has been given a command from my brain that I need to speak on the webinar on EEG, and most of the information which has been stored in my memories are being continuously read out and being presented in a different way. And parallelly, there are different other activities which are also happening, because I am right now attentive, I am live, I have a cognitive sense. And because of this cognitive sense, I'm basically able to sit in this chair. If I'm sleeping maybe within few minutes, then definitely my brain will lose the control towards my muscles, and definitely my neck will fall down, or maybe I will fall down, something like that. So there is a continuous cognitive activity is also being happening right now. And another important thing is there are different senses what we have, that is in terms of cognitive sense, which is very much important, that our brain is able to do lots of parallel processing or multitasking kind of a thing, that even all of you right now sitting at your home or maybe in the offices, you all are very much cognitively live, that you are attending this webinar. Maybe after attending the webinar, you might have some work in the evening, or what you are doing right now, what is your job, what is your family, what you want to do in future, what has happened to your past. Everything is being right now in your brain. It is being continuously measured and monitored by the brain, and based on that we take lots of actions. So the very important part of our life is maybe we call it as a heart, but I should say it's the action potential, or maybe the action potential which has been generated from this nucleus of the neurons. And these neurons, again, definitely are alive because of the sodium and potassium, which is a kind of a two ions which are responsible for generating the action potentials through the nucleus. And that is why if oxygen is important, similarly, I should say potassium and sodium is also very much important for our brain waves. And that is why you might have observed that whenever a person is sick, or maybe is not happy or healthy, or maybe tired, we try to give some tender coconut water. Tender coconut water is almost containing 95 or 98% of water only. But we actually believe that having a tender coconut is a good thing for our brain. Why? Because it has a higher amount of sodium and potassium. And once you have a sodium and potassium intake, within few minutes or half an hour, you will definitely see that there is a very good brain activity which is happening, because it helps the neurons, and finally action potential is being generated, and you feel good because your battery was down somewhat, and that is why it helps to recharge the battery. So as we see that oxygen and heart and all these things are very much important, but to have a complete control over the body, we should have control on the nucleus, or maybe the neuron in the brain. If your neuron is not working, or maybe if it is not generating any electrical activities, it means that you are almost died, or maybe a kind of a situation where a person is in coma. A person in a coma is basically a live person, but it's a kind of a dead. He is not able to move anything because there are no electrical activities inside the brain. If you measure the brain waves of the person in a coma, there are very light activities which is happening. Only it's responsible for breathing the heart and some other activities of the body. So it's a different story in terms of. So that is why I told you that whenever you are interested in BCI, you should take care that in which area you are actually moving. Otherwise, there are lots of different paths. You may go to some path and maybe find out something different. So now coming back to the very important part, those who are interested in EEG should have the idea about all these fundamental 6 to 30 hertz. So from this, am I audible to all of you? Hello?
So there was a disturbance in between.
No, sir. There's
Is it
some distortion in your voice, sir.
is it okay now?
Sometimes it is clear, sometimes. Right now, this time I'm listening. I think I am listening, but I cannot say for others, but I am listening to you.
Okay, okay. So
Yes, sir,
I
you are
think it is
audible,
clear
sir.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
So most of the brain waves are in the range of 0 to 30 for the human beings. I will start with the beta waves. There are alpha, beta, theta, delta, or gamma waves. Very interesting is alpha and beta as well as delta. For different activities, they are all responsible. It's a spectrum of 0 to 30, or sometimes in some of the books it is mentioned that it is 0 to 40 hertz, but actually all of them are overlapping, or maybe some sort of a kind of a boundary which people have set in a different way, or maybe as per the different result of research, they have actually arranged from 0 to 40 hertz. So beta waves are from 14 to 30 hertz, which are very much important for short-term memory and routine jobs. So short-term memories are basically responsible because of the beta waves. If you have any problem in beta waves, or maybe if it is not proper in terms of generated continuously from the brain waves, or there are some problems, it means that you are not able to recall the immediate things which you did in the recent past. Many a times you forgot the keys and everything, but that doesn't mean that it's a beta wave problem. It's maybe due to aging or some sort of things, but definitely aging has a very good role to play on the human brain activities. Many a times we see that we are not that much active enough. The activeness of a person in terms of physical activeness, that you are not able to quickly respond to some of the actions which are happening in front of you. So maybe if you are young, a truck or maybe a car is coming on towards you, definitely will jump. But if a person is of old age, he will not be able to do that. So it means that the the responses which are being generated based on the things which we see from our eyes, or maybe which is processed in the visual cortex from the occipital lobe, we are not able to respond quickly. So it means that there is a aging effect on the brain waves also, and that is why it's not possible to make any universal device using EEG for the ranging of for covering the complete age range. So beta waves, 14 to 30 hertz, it's linear, externally directed, left brain thinking associated with the stress, anxiety, and fear. So if a person is having anxiety or maybe a kind of a fear, if you monitor the brainwave conditions, definitely you will find that there is a prominent change in the beta waves. If you look at the alpha wave, they are from 8 hertz to 13.9 or maybe the 14 hertz of things. It's relaxed, focused, and good health. So if your alpha is good, means you are happy. That's what I have concluded in my number of papers which I have reviewed. So we definitely need to take care of our alpha waves, and only one thing can help: the physical activity, and another one is yoga and meditation. So it is basically responsible for relaxed, focused, and good health. Many a times, even if you are not doing any activity, but you are not happy, you are not relaxed, you are not focused, you don't feel good, it means that there should be a problem with your alpha wave, or you need to focus, or you need to meditate, close your eyes, lay down or sit for some time. Definitely your alpha waves will be conditioned. And usually we take lots of external things for a number of physical problems. If there is a pain, we apply some sort of iodex or maybe balm or something like that. But in case of brain, it's not possible. So there is only one activity which most of the scientists or maybe ancient literature has also suggested, is that to make your brainwave conditioned. Conditioning of a brainwave is nothing but a kind of doing some sort of meditative activities that definitely helps you to condition your brainwaves. You want to bring all the brainwaves in the normal condition. The meditation can only help in that sense. So it is also responsible for mental coordination, long-term memory, creativity, and visualization associated with light meditation. So these are the things that how an alpha wave can help you in terms of doing some sort of activities. And that is why I think 4 years ago in the Olympics, for doing some sort of shooting game activity, the company called NeuroSky had given the headbands to most of the people who were the national players of the particular country to focus and to do the attention, and they can visualize their attention. If the person is attentive, say for example 100% focused on a target, at that time they were told to shoot on a target, and they were able to shoot in 99% cases. It means that if you can see that whether you are attentive or not, whether you are having 100% attention or not. So they were actually measuring the alpha waves and another waves also. There are some sort of mathematical formulas of taking the ratios of different brainwave bands, and you can find out some result that whenever you are an attentive kind of a person, it means that the ratio should be more than that or something like that. So that was a kind of alpha wave, which is for 8 to 13.9 hertz. And there are some research papers which are about drowsiness also. Many a times we feel that when we close your eyes, the alpha goes high. So a company called, I think Mercedes-Benz had a kind of a drowsiness detection system in the car, recently launched. So they had kept some sort of sensors on the scalp of the driver, and they did lots of research and study. And they found that when a person falls sleepy, or maybe in terms of drowsiness, the frequency which is responsible for that drowsiness was 14 hertz. It means that it was a kind of a in between alpha and beta waves. When it was prominent, the driver was actually having a kind of a drowsiness. And then they found that most of the time, the accidents were happened just because of the drowsiness of the driver. The driver feels sleepy, and the frequency at that time of the brainwave was 14 hertz, which was a little bit higher at that time, and that is why they actually lost the control of the steering, and something had happened. So there are different areas of research where you can focus, looking at the brainwaves also. Third one is the theta waves, which is from 4 to 7.9 hertz. Reduced consciousness, deep meditation, intuition, vital for learning and memory, high creativity, flashes of insight and inspiration, and spontaneous healing. This is a very interesting one that is majorly found in terms of kids of young age. They have very prominent theta waves and mainly responsible for creative activity. So you can see that there are some people who are very much creative in doing some activities. There are some people who are very much good at sports. There are few people who are good at some arts or playing some musical instruments or doing some artistic drawing or maybe sculpture or making something. So all of the people on the earth are not creative, but very few are creative. So that creativeness is basically responsible because of the theta wave. And that is why many a times we see that over a period of age, our creativity is actually diminishing or maybe reducing, and we are not able to do. And we see that how creative we were during the childhood, but at the age grows, we are not able to that much. We are not able to keep ourselves much creative, and that is why the problem with the theta waves. Actually, it's not problem, but because of the aging effect, there is an effect on the theta waves, and that is why. But there are few people. You can see that even at the age of 40 or 50, they are very good at sporting activity, or maybe they are good at some sort of creative activity. You might have seen some people who were very much popular on YouTube by dancing on Govinda's song, and there was an uncle. So he was very good at dancing at that time. So you should definitely see that the theta wave of that person must be very high at that time, and maybe it's still going on, and that is why he's able to do all this creative activity at this age. It's not cup of tea for everyone that to be creative over a period of the age. So it's a very interesting brainwave band for study. Next is delta wave. It's a very, very low frequency, and many a times the artifacts which are also being in the range of delta waves. And many a time people feel that I'm getting readings of delta waves, but sometimes it may happen that these waves are mainly of the artifacts. Artifacts are like simply if you are rubbing your hair, or maybe you are moving your hand on the head, it means that there is a vibration, or maybe there is an artifact which is being generated because of the movement of the hand.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Sir, almost 1 hour is about to end. Sir, can you go? Because I know, sir, this field is very much vast field, and we have given a limited time, so that if you can cover up within a short time of 15 minutes, so that we can have a question answer query session also.
Okay.
Yes.
So I actually I thought let it be 2 hours, no problem. We'll see quickly. So let me finish with the this brainwave bands, delta waves, and finally gamma waves, which are of again a very low frequency. 0.5 hertz is of epsilon waves. Whenever you want to record something, you should see that there is a 1020 system, which is a kind of a standard international system of recording the brainwave. 1020 doesn't have a specific meaning, but simply the position of the electrode should be specific while recording the brainwaves from the brain. And that is why most of the companies who are making the hardware for the EEG recording have a position which is specific to this 1020 system. So whenever you apply this hardware on the brain or your head, it will actually place at these places. So that is a 1020 system. Now I will go to the hardware which I would like to show. So these are the this is one of the popular hardware. This is a Emotiv EEG, which is a 16-channel headset, and once you wear that, actually it will touch to the scalp of your head, and it will start recording the brainwave. It has a wireless dongle which you need to connect to the computer, and that will show you the live data of the brainwave condition. While buying this, simply you need to take care of that. If you are in India, you should see that whether you are buying it for 50 hertz or 60 hertz, because the electrical interference in our house, because of the 50 hertz of electrical supply, that affects the brainwave also. So there is a filter inside this for 50 hertz for Indian condition. So while buying that, you need to see that whether you are buying for 50 hertz or 60 hertz, but otherwise it will affect the brainwave recordings. And there is a specific method of applying the electrodes. There is a these are the sensors which you need to make them wet and finally apply it on the machine and start recording the brainwave conditions. There is a very good software, or maybe the license copy, which you can buy with the Emotiv Epoch headset. Once you wear that hardware, it will show you the real-time situation of the electrodes, whether they are properly connected or not. If all of them becomes green, it means that it is connected. If there is a poorly connected electrode, like in the third photo, one is orange and another one is blue, it means that there is a poor signal quality from that particular sensor. If all of them are green, it means that you are getting a very good quality signal. And second part is that the software provides you a kind of a different sort of suite, that is for expressive suite, affective suite, cognitive suite, and mouse simulator. You can even use your brainwave thinking to move your mouse also. That is a kind of a facility which has been provided by the software itself. You did not have to make anything. But let me tell you about the affective response and cognitive suite, or maybe the expressive suite. Whenever we smile, whenever we raise our eyebrows, whenever we do some sort of facial expression, actually that is also being responsible for generating different brainwave activities. So doing some sort of facial expression, you can change, and this software is able to identify those things also. If you smile, this avatar will also smile. If you raise your eyebrows, the avatar will also raise the eyebrow. It means that your brainwave conditions are also being changed because of the facial expression. That is why we say, in case of philosophy, that smile is contagious and you should smile. So if you smile, actually it changes the brainwave and we feel good at that time. Affective suite is a kind of a thing which is mainly responsible for a kind of activities of long term, short term, etc. Let me give you an example of affective sense. There are some sort of short term and long term excitement. Say for example, maybe today evening you have planned to go out for the dinner. It means that there is an excitement that you want to go with the family out for a dinner. There is another sort of excitement that you have planned your vacation in this summer to visit to Switzerland. So that's a long-term excitement. But there is another one is the short-term excitement. So there is a long-term boredom, there is a short-term boredom. All these can also be found using the brainwave monitoring, or maybe using the affective suite that is also provided in this. So these are some of the things about the software which you can find out. So you can see that in the current situation, there is an excitement or calmness or engagement or distraction or meditation sort of activities which are being there in the brainwave. You can see everything in the live mode. This is a very interesting panel, which is known as a test bench in the epoch, which shows you all the 16 channel live. So you can see different brainwave activities which is happening from a different channel. And remember one thing, that whenever we are recording the brain waves from different 16 these green dots, which are basically the electrode placed over the skull, they are actually getting the electrical activities from the skull. Below the skull, we have a skull, and below the skull, we have the brain. And inside the brain, we have thousands or lakhs of neurons collectively providing the signal to this particular sensor. So still today, it is said that whenever we are measuring the brainwave from the scalp itself or from the head itself, it is not that much accurate, because we are not able to do some sort of invasive kind of brainwave recording. We cannot insert a pinpoint or maybe a needle inside the brain and we can record, because a neuron is a very small microscopic part. Even it's very difficult to see it with an electron microscope. So it is also generating the electrical waves, and we are recording with a sensor of say maybe half centimeter or maybe 5 mm, and that may be a collective response. That is what I wanted to tell you, that it's a collective response of number of neurons. So whenever the electrical activity is being monitored, they are displayed on the screen itself. And once you record something or maybe do some activities, try to think something, try to think good, think bad, and you'll be able to see that the brainwaves are continuously changing. Even somebody is shouting in your family on the back another room, you'll be able to see that you are hearing that, and because of that hearing, you are able to it affects your brainwaves, and you are able to see all these activities which are live. Even you can customize for some specific channel that you want to see the frontal lobe output only. You can untick those sensors and you'll be able to see only 3 to 4 channels. They are actually providing you, but you want to visualize only few of them. Another very interesting part of this is that you can do FFT of this in a live mode. You'll be able to see that FFT data is also provided with a different windowing method like Henning and other. And you are able to see the actual power bands of different brainwave bands. So in the first few slides, I had discussed about alpha, beta, theta, and gamma. And if you want to see the power band of those bands, like alpha band as well as customized band or maybe beta or theta band, you'll be able to monitor them all. So if you are recording a person's brainwave for say 1 minute, doing some activity, and you want to see that what was the band.
Your voice is very low, sir. Sir, microphone issue might be. Your voice is very low.
Yes, now it is okay. Hello.
No, sir, still not audible, sir.
Just hold on for a while.
Okay, sir.
નિશુ આ માઇક નથી આવતું બરાબર.
Right now, sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay. This is the time where we need to get ready with lots of gadgets and equipments.
Sir, voice is very low, sir. We can hear, but very low, sir. From my side, if I say very low voice.
Actually, I checked with one of the mobile phone with my son. He was also listening to that. Is it low? One.
Participant, please wait. There is some technical issue at the presenter side, so be patient. Wait here. We'll continue the session.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now audible, sir.
Okay.
The screen is paused. Sir, your screen is paused and audio is not available. Participant, please wait.
Yeah,
There is
my data get exhausted, so just switching to the another network.
No problem, sir. You take your time, sir. We are waiting here. Participant, this session might be get a little bit longer, so be with us because this, whatever the information provided by the expert, it's not a thing that it can cover up within this group of time. So expert is trying to cover up as much as possible. I'll definitely share the link of feedback very soon.
નિસર્ગ કેમેરો કેમ ચાલુ હતી?
Sister, we can see your screen.
એ તો ચાલુ જ છે. શેર કરું.
The audio is available.
કેમેરો ચાલુ.
We can hear you.
અરે એ નહીં. આમાંથી ચાલુ કરો. એમાં ઇન્ટરનેટ બંધ થઈ ગયું.
તમે કામ કરો ને એટલે અમારે તમારો વિડીયો અમે નથી પ્રેઝન્ટેશન
આમાંથી કાઢ નાખવું તો આનો વિડીયો લેપટોપ નો ચાલુ કરવા માટે
IV cam काढणं. Screen presentation देखा Okay.
So we can see the screen, and also your audio is clear.
Bluetooth connect करूँ. Hello.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Voice is okay.
Yes, sir.
I am not able to listen anything. મને સંભળાતું જ નથી. Panchayat sir, can you speak something? So I am not able to listen anything.
Sir, you are audible, sir. Sir, you are audible.
આમાં કેમ નથી આવતું voice? Yeah, I'm audible to all of you, but I am not able to listen anything. Okay, now everything is fine. So let me start. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, so we were talking about this particular band, where we can see the different brainwave bands as well as the FFT and all these things, and we can have option of customizing the band. Say if you are interested in doing some sort of finding out the band of a particular frequency, say 9 to 11 hertz. So you can customize with that, and you can do an auto scaling of that also. The beauty of this software is that you can record the brainwave in the standard European data format, that is an EDF format, and that can be recorded inside the computer. .edf is a standard file for recording the brainwave data. Even if you find on the internet, you will be able to download some of the pre-recorded data of some of the subjects, and you can play into the software. That is also possible. And later on, I actually implemented onto the doing some statistical analysis. Let me show you some of the things that how you can do analysis of all this brainwave data. So once you record all this brainwave, you can convert them into an Excel value. Say directly from the software, you need to go to tools, and then you can convert them into the Excel value. So you will get a complete data sheet of this particular brainwave bands which you have recorded, having all the sensors which is available in the 16 channel. So say for example, channel 1 is electrode number 1, channel 2 is electrode number 2. So for all these channels you get, and the sampling rate of this particular device is 512. So for 1 second of recording, you get 512 lines of the EEG data for 16 channel. So if you are recording it for 60 seconds, it means that 60 multiply with 512 for 16 different columns. So this much of data is being generated from the brainwave data. And finally, the main part of the analysis is that we need to do some statistical analysis. But these days, if you are interested in doing some sort of brainwave research or a project, don't go for the statistical analysis, but try to see that you go for the AI or machine learning part, because when you have a huge amount of data, there are lots of models which are available, and you can find out the patterns, because we have an option of supervised and unsupervised learning that you can label those data with a particular action what you have performed, or maybe you want to compare with another action. Let me give you an example that you want to find out is there any significant difference when you are counting in reverse? Say, for example, I am counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 99. I have recorded my brainwave in this particular condition. Now I want to record my brainwave data when I am counting in a reverse order. Say, for example, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, etc. So to find out, is there any significant difference between these two brainwave activities or not? At that time, you can label all this data. You take recordings of different 10 or 100 subjects with their permission, convert into the Excel value, and finally apply all this data to the model of AI by which you will be able to train, and you will be able to find out some sort of result, and then you can train or test with the validation data set, or maybe the testing data set. So that will help. Now the time has changed. You definitely should go for the machine learning based statistical analysis. And now there is an option of uploading all this data to Google Colaboratory for doing this sort of AI, that if you don't have GPU for processing all this higher amount of data, you can definitely upload to your Google Drive, and that will help you to find out the result. So this is also possible to deploy on an Arduino also, because if you're making a model of your brainwave data in terms of a train model, you can convert into a header file, and that header file can be deployed to the maybe this one Arduino, and that can also work. So if you are an expert in statistics or mathematics, or if you have an idea about which sort of test to perform, there are different tests which I had performed, like a statistical test for equivariance and one-way ANOVA test or runtime statistical calculation, because whenever we are doing some sort of activity, and if you want to see that we want to apply it into real time or maybe a live data, say for example, I want to generate number 2, or maybe I want to update the Facebook status by doing a particular brainwave activity. So maybe to train the hardware, or maybe to deploy on the hardware my particular algorithm, I might have taken my reading that, say for example, I am swimming in the sea. That is what the thought which I might have recorded. Maybe I have recorded it for 100 times. So I have got some sort of brainwave activity data. Now, if somebody asks me that, now generate digit number 2, or maybe update the Facebook status. So what I will do the same activity which I had already performed for doing some sort of specific activity. So I will think of that particular situation that I am swimming in the sea, and that will generate a particular digit, or maybe update the Facebook status. But we should be able to understand that whenever we have different sort of data, or whether it's a time series data or maybe a continuous data, the algorithm should be able to apply on the runtime data. So maybe we should be able to do this sort of runtime statistical calculation, that is finding out a mean or a variance in the runtime data. So we should have a boundary of data, say 100 samples, and they are continuously flowing. At any point of time, if you want to inject those things to that runtime data, we should be able to do statistical analysis in the runtime calculation. So these are some of the screenshots of the brainwave activities, and found that there are differences. So it's a kind of a box plot for neutral attention and thoughtful attention, whether is there any change or not. This is of no meaning right now to show you all of these things, because it is difficult to understand. So this was a kind of one algorithm which I had added, that, in case of astrology, you can see your daily horoscope kind of a thing, or maybe yearly horoscope based on the planet position. But if you want to see that what your brain says right now in a particular situation, and if you want to do some sort of brainwave scan or brain scan, I had applied different situations of brainwave conditions of different data, and was generating a kind of a text message out of the brainwave activity. So I was getting a message on my mobile phone whenever I apply that hardware, and through the Arduino, I was sending a SMS of brain scan report. So this is a screenshot of those activities, that it's a kind of a not drowsy, highly creative, remembering, retrieving something, or agitated, higher mental activity, or a breezy brain right now. So these are some of the automatically generated of a particular instance only. Maybe after 2 seconds, it may be different. For a particular instance, you will be able to get all these things. So these are some of the converted recordings of EEG. There is another software which you can use in the mobile phone itself to record the data. If you have NeuroSky band, which is a single sensor band which you need to apply on the frontal portion of your brain and wear it like this. And you can directly record all this data of attention values and delta, theta, and alpha low, alpha high, beta high. Different companies have different names for the band which are given. Like NeuroSky has given alpha in a two different portion, alpha high and alpha low, beta high and beta low. So you can get all these values. Even the facility, if you are using the mobile phone, you can even find out based on the location also that the GPS data is also logged into the Excel file. Then you can play with all these data to analyze. Okay, so these were some of the patents which was filed at that time. I think, Ghanshyam sir, we should stop here because there are lots of things which we can cover, but I would like to discuss if there are questions and answers, or maybe if participants want to know something specific based on the brainwave or maybe EEG. I would like to answer those questions.
Yes, sir. The session was very much informative, sir. A few of the queries are there in chat section.
Yes, let
And
me see them.
there were about that how does the brainwave help to reduce the pain intensity in the patient? That is one query. And another query is, can we increase the strength of brain lobes artificially? Share any technique or method if possible.
Yes,
That is
first
what.
of all, I will take the first question. That see, the pain and everything is basically related to the psychology. Maybe if you are interested in psychology, usually the most of the things are responsible because of the human behavioral response. Everything happens to us because of our response. If we are responsive to every situation, then definitely we are in pain, or we are not happy, or we are not reacting happily to the surrounding. Maybe just for example, that if it is heavily raining today outside, and if I feel that, oh, I wanted to go outside and my reaction is different, but if I accept the situation and if I follow the nature's call, then definitely it's kind of a different reaction from my side, and I don't get angry for these things, or maybe I don't become unhappy for any of the situation. So to reduce the pain is not related to the brainwave activity, but it is because of the psychological activity or the psychological phenomena which happens, and it is being actually generated over a period of time. Like we might have seen the characteristic of diode, say for example, or maybe characteristic of a Zener diode. Whatever input you provide, maybe you get the output or a characteristic based on the characteristic of the component itself. So a human brain is also a kind of an entity where you apply some visual or maybe hearing kind of a data, what we listen, what we see, what we feel, we process in our brain, and it depends on the characteristic of a brain that it gives you the output. So the output is nothing but a kind of a happiness, or maybe a sadness, or maybe joy, or maybe a kind of angerness. So it is not possible using some sort of external factors, but definitely if you have that problem, you can control it using meditative activities. Meditation is the only solution for most of the 99% brainwave related problems, that you need to condition those brainwaves. If you keep yourself calm and cool, sit for half an hour every day, then definitely you will see that there is a change over a period of time. So that is what the thing. But I think medically, if there is a problem of some sort of neurochemicals like serotonin or maybe endorphin or something like that, definitely there are medicines for that. Using some sort of engineering way, it's not possible to do all these things. Next question, sir.
Yeah, sir. The next question was, can we increase or improve the strength of brain lobes artificially, or any technique available for that?
Yeah, that is what recently Elon Musk has actually claimed, that he is able to do all these things, but still it is under the experiment. And the biggest problem today, or maybe I should say, it's not a problem, but we should not go towards that side of doing some sort of invasive activity. The ethics actually says that most of the activities what we want to do in terms of research should be non-invasive. It should not be invasive. So maybe some of the researchers are doing some sort of activities with the human, or maybe with the human brain also. Those who are mental disorder, And I've seen some of the YouTube videos that a totally mentally retarded person was actually punctured in the brain with number of electrodes externally, and they were controlling that person using the computer. So that person was not able to do anything. He was simply like a dead body, but they were able to stand up the person, and the person was able to walk also. But that was kind of a totally illegal way of doing that thing, and that is what we don't want to do with the human being. And that is why any invasive activities which are not ethically true, we should not go towards that side, because it's not necessary that we know everything about the brain. Something which is not actually required, we should not play with those things. Otherwise, that would be a very difficult time for us also. So the Elon Musk has actually does that thing on the pigs, and even you might have seen in the newspaper that those activists have actually started opposing those things, that even it is not to be done on the pigs or any animals.
Yes, sir. Sir, few more question will take, and other question we are going to reply by a feedback form.
Okay.
So I'll share all the question with you as well.
Yeah,
One of the
see,
questions.
somebody written that getting some result with the music also. That's a very good experience, and even I also agree with Kanak Saxena that you will find lots of mobile application in your Play Store of binaural activities. Just search with the word binaural activity or binaural music. So binaural is a kind of a thing that you download that application, it will generate some sounds or maybe music that has a kind of a phase shift of a particular frequency band in the brainwave bands. And once you listen those particular music from that binaural application, it actually creates a difference of frequency which is responsible for getting into the sleep. Whenever you are not able to sleep, try to use that application that will actually feed some sort of phase difference of the music of a particular frequency, and that is basically will help you to generate the frequency which is responsible for sleeping activity. And that is really true. Even a music also helps a lot, because music, whenever we listen, actually our brain will also get tuned to those things, and that is why we have different choices for different voices. Even many a times we feel that there is a soothing music. Even if you are interested in the musical notes, like when you play guitar, there are different chords like A, B, E, G, D, etc. So some chords are specifically for joy and happiness, and some chords are for sadness. So whenever you listen those things, you feel good, or maybe you feel that it's a painful song, or maybe it's a sad song or something like that. So all these are directly connected with the brainwave activities. So it's a very good suggestion by the Kanak Saxena that some results are good with the musical activities when we listen them.
Thank you, sir. Let us take a last question. That is a question by Varsa Lokre. That is, for cognitive process, which band need to monitor?
For cognitive, usually frontal lobe is the main important lobe. Frontal lobe is basically for alpha, maybe. So if you monitor the alpha, most of the activities like cognitive and rest of the activities are monitored in under the alpha band. So if you record those alpha bands and only do analysis with them. But one thing I would like to mention here is that the complete spectrum of the band, brainwave band, starting from 0 to 40 hertz. So if you are focusing on alpha band only, you should also see that whether there is a difference in the spectrum or not. You need to take care of both the things. If you will only focus on the alpha band, then you will not be able to judge that whether actually the complete spectrum is also changing or not. And even I had an email communication with the company like Emotive, and the great mathematician which has been hired by that company. They told us that we had done lots of blind tests on the different mathematical formula, that without knowing anything, we have taken, without any previous knowledge, without any previous research, we have started taking a ratio of different band, ratio of a band with the spectrum, or maybe spectrum with the band, and we tried to do some sort of blind analysis, and finally we came to some conclusion. And if you read some of the patents which has been filed related to brainwave area, you will be able to see that people have done really interesting work just by the mathematics. It's all about using mathematics and finding out different results from this. So I think that will help you, and I hope today's session was useful I'm sorry that I took a very long time in some of the initial slides, because when you are asking a person who has spent 6 to 7 years, it takes always a good time to explain, and it's always a kind of a joy to explain everything what I know. But anyway, whatever you know, whatever you have learned today, or maybe whatever I have shared with you, will definitely useful for getting insight into the area of EEG. Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Really, within a 1 hour, it is very difficult to cover up all the things. But you have tried very well, sir. It was a really very nice session, sir. A very nice presentation. And I thank you for this wonderful presentation, as well as solving the queries of the participants. So I thank our expert for giving such a wonderful presentation. Let us wind up this session by giving a vote of thanks. So myself, Professor Ghanshyam Rathod, would like to thank our Chauta Vidya Mandal for giving this opportunity, and also our BBM Engineering College and Electronics and Communication Department for giving this opportunity to organize such wonderful webinar. I would like to also thank all the participants all across the India, those who have taken the interest for such a wonderful topic, and also a student of BBM Engineering College and other college students. So be with us for future events also. So I thank all of you. One more request, that if you have not filled up the form, which I have already given in the chat section, that is a feedback attendance form. So kindly fill up that form and give your feedback. You can put your queries in that form also. So thank you, all of you. Thanks, and have a nice weekend. You can leave this session. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, welcome, sir. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice time.
Bye.